Impact on Your Health is sponsored by Dennis J. Courtney, MD, Director of the Courtney Medical Group, located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray, Pennsylvania. For more information or to make an appointment, call 724-942-3002. That's 724-942-3002 for Dennis J. Courtney, MD.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to AM Impact on Your Health. AM Impact on Your Health, where every day our goal is to have you learn at least one thing to help you live better and longer. AM Impact on Your Health is heard each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney, and I'm with you each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9. AM Impact on Your Health, where each day you'll find current medical news, knowledgeable guests, fascinating health topics, and of course, where we encourage you to call in to join in. Today we're going to wrap it up, folks. We've been on a bender all week. We've been talking about this issue of fish oil. First introduced about a couple of months ago, but this week has been Professor Brian Peskin week, who's put this thing together from the scientific literature viewpoint that just can't be ignored anymore. We spent the last couple of days with him, allowing him to give us his investigational findings, and of course the conclusion. Where we started this whole thing is that absolutely fish oil can be hazardous, and more than likely is, over some time at least, hazardous for your health. Today we're going to wrap that all up. I've sat back and sort of jotted down in my own mind what I believe, what we learned over these past couple of days. I'll ask the professor if I was a good student or not. Today's the day to get the questions off of your mind out in the open. Everybody would like to hear maybe what you are a little whimsical about with respect to fish oil. So, when we open it up today, it is opened up for you to call in and join in that conversation. The number to do it, 412-825-6262. That's 412-825-6262. Professor Brian Peskin, our guest today to round out the week. Now, as it moves on, and we are rapidly, by the week, I guess today, or yesterday, or when? First day of fall, and temperatures are changing. A little gloomy out there today. I guess rain's coming. But starting next Monday, we're going to have a different professor come back, a Russian brand professor, Soviet actually, now converted to an American citizen. Konstantin Monastersky, our guest on Monday and Wednesday, to pick up where really things really get started with respect to the fiber issue, and that is the subject of constipation. We've never done a show on constipation. I've never found a guest who was as skilled in discussing it, and so we'll be doing that on Monday and Wednesday of next week. By the time Friday rolls around, the absolute last day of the month, we will have our first open phone America in well over a month. And so the open phones will be open to you by then, not next Friday. As we do turn the page and move into the month of October, Faye Houston will be back with us on the 3rd and Monday, talking about her book, Silent Enemy, Environmental Illness and the Woman's Search for a Cure. Susan Smith-Jones returns on the 5th. MCG testing on the 6th. Many of you already know who you are, but there are plenty of slots left. And then David Brownstein comes back to talk about one of his newer books, the newest of all, entitled The Soy Deception. So hopefully you will be spending some time with us, a lot of time with us, in the up and coming days. And as the month of October unfolds, there'll be more guests added to the list, and I'll share them with you. I hope you all enjoyed yourself up there at the Freedom of Choice in Cancer Therapy group last night. I obviously did not have a chance to go up there, but hopefully you were enriched by the featured speaker talking about, his name was Robert Wright, founder and director of the American Anti-Cancer Institute. And, hey, share with us how it all went up there if you have a mind to do so. And, product-wise, don't forget, 4-to-1 oil, this great substitute for fish oil. You've got to have the building blocks, folks. That's just it. You can't take top-level stuff like arachidonic acid and DHA, and think that you can meet the needs for the building blocks. The building blocks are, I guess in the nomenclature of the professor, the parent oils. And the parent oils of the omega-6s and the omega-3s are clearly delineated. They are they are linoleic and alpha-linolenic acids. The linoleic component, the omega-6 component, sunflower, safflower, primrose. These are the parent oils in that category. The alpha-linolenic component, which is the omega-3 component, I found out yesterday or the last show, chia oil. That little thing that sits on your kitchen windowsill, little fuzzy animal made of some growing weeds there. Those are chia. The chia seeds evidently are a very good parent oil. Found that out the other day, as well as the old standard flaxseed oil. Anyway, the product 4-to-1 is a noteworthy entrance into our office, and it's selling like hotcakes, folks. Go ahead and get some. What else? Oh, F3 BioAge, the company, manufactures F3, the product, a bioengineered algae concentrate, the all-inclusive vitamin mineral, I say, because taking it does not require, in my opinion, any other supplement to go along with it. It's all wrapped up at the one, folks. Vitamins, minerals, all the minerals, including all the traces, and the list goes on with respect to even the essential fatty acids. They're all there. All the amino acids. It's just everything rolled into one. F3, that would be the best recommendation I would have. And I think over time, the most economical way to making certain that you meet your monthly supplementation goals and objectives. Okay. We're going to break away. We're going to have an interesting show today. We hope you come on in and help set some of the agenda around here. You may have many questions for the professor. We're going to break away and get in contact with the professor immediately to allow that time so that we use it up just right today in pulling this subject to an end, at least for a while. Fish oils, the fish oil hoax continues today with Professor Brian Peskin.
This is Dennis J. Courtney, MD. Have you become confused about how best to manage your health? It's no wonder. It seems that every time you turn on the television or radio, another expert has yet another suggestion for you to follow that seems to be reasonable enough, but no matter how dutifully you follow the instruction, it just doesn't quite produce the results that you are looking for. If this confusion sounds familiar to you, give us a call at the Center for Complementary Health, where we'll make some sense of the confusion based on a blending of traditional and alternative medicine that we've been perfecting over the last 7 years. We offer metabolic nutrition testing, immune system repair, natural hormone replacement therapy, chelation therapy, cutting-edge allergy correction, and a host of other safe and effective alternative therapies.
Dennis J. Courtney, MD, is located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray. Phone 724-942-3002.
Honey, just got the word. The company's new health plan has a $5,000 deductible. We have to make sure nobody gets sick this year. Remember what those doctor's visits cost for last year's colds and flu? Oh, sorry, I've got to go. Love you.
We can do this. We can cut the fast food lunches. Soda, that's a lot of sugar. We could all take that evening walk. And hey, I heard a program about fruit of the spirit. What did they say? 1 ounce, the equivalent of 5 servings of fruits with herbs and minerals. We could add some to our breakfast protein shakes. Fruit of the Spirit is unique whole fruit puree. Fruit of the Spirit contains fresh fruits native to the Holy Land and alkalizing minerals from the Dead Sea. With no added sugars, Fruit of the Spirit's unique product from 5 years of work from science-based nutritional experts. Call 1-800-442-3793 for a special promotional offer. Fruit of the Spirit, a blessing for your good health. Fruit of the Spirit, convenient, affordable, and delicious. That's 1-800-442-3793. Call them now, 1-800-442-3793.
Hey, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to AM Impact on Your Health. Heard here on KHB 620 each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney with you today on a Friday version of the show, slightly different for us. it isn't that exclusive get 'em up out of town version, because our guest of all week lingers with us today to wrap up the fish oil hoax that he is has documented so well in all his lectures, soon to come out in a book in collaboration with our famous Dr. Robert Rowan. And you've learned quite a bit, I hope, from our good Professor Brian Peskin. He's our guest today. Let's say good morning and welcome him back. Good morning and welcome back, Professor.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, it's been a lovely week, Professor. I have enjoyed it immensely. I hope our listeners have. And with respect to this fish oil controversy, certainly becoming, in my mind, no controversy at all. It's almost a punt. I say, at this point, with all the scientific literature you presented to us, a picture has clearly emerged that will be, in my opinion, irrefutable. They may fuss. They may kick up a fuss. They may cackle. They may uprise. But when the things are finally said and done, the science will win the day. And you know it, and I know it too. And so it'll be nice to see the limbs of this tree crack under the pressure and weight of scientific information. I thank you very much for all of the research that you have done. The stuff is out there, but you pulled it together to make the picture unfold. The picture's quite clear to me. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
With that in mind, I sat down yesterday, and I was saying, okay, I've been doing a lot of reading on this subject, listening to every bit of stuff you put out, and so I've learned, I believe, a lot. In fact, I've reduced it to 6 main points. It's not fair to reduce all your work to 6 points, but
that's okay.
I think it is the salient points, and I'm going to ask you to allow me as a student now. I had my student hat on yesterday, and you can grade me on this, Professor.
Okay.
But I'm going to go down through a list of what I think are the big issues that you brought to our attention that prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that fish oil is hazardous to your health. First point. You ready, Professor?
Yep.
Okay. In our first show, and really in the first stuff I've ever seen you do, you had taken on every possible conceived reason that people take fish oil for. And what you've done in you taking that on is that you've shown that for whatever reason you're taking fish oil, and for whatever it was that you thought you were going to get a benefit, you can expect no benefit because the scientific research is quite clear when it comes to things like, well, the ones that I can remember talking about, Alzheimer's disease, that dementia study.
Yep.
And this is recent stuff now. This was 2010 literature, so to me, that was a big one. Cardiovascular disease, every cardiologist in the world thinks he's hep, thinks he's cool, telling patients, hey, take fish oil. For what cardiovascular benefit, I do not know, especially the other thing that we learned in the last show was the epithelium of the blood vessel, that intima layer, is comprised of totally nothing but omega-6s. There are no omega-3s there. How could EPA and DHA ever help you?
Correct.
Okay. So far, the issue of cancer. I believe a lot of people take fish oil thinking it is a good protection against cancer. It's a standard for why one would take it, and people just speak of this as a positive trait. You showed through literature that not only can you expect to not be protected, that more than likely you're going to end up provoking the very cancer you're thinking you're avoiding. Spend a moment on that one, because I think that is a biggie.
Well, it inflames because fish oil goes rancid, spoils spontaneously at room temperature, and much, much worse inside the body. It's 300 times more reactive than olive oil or parent omega-6, 300 times. So it goes bad instantly, and inflammation is at the core of cancer. Professor Weinberg at MIT, very, very, very big name in cancer. Excuse me, he was the founder of the term oncogene, by the way. Said inflammation's taking center stage. So inflammation is a major, major secondary cause because it utilizes oxygen. So the oxygen that should be in the cell can't get used in the cell anymore. It has to go to try and stomp out the inflammation. So the more fish oil you take, the more inflammation you get. And by the way, in 2006, a British journal, forget what it is, British Journal of something. There's so many journals, but it did a superb summary, and their finding was there's no way the omega-3 series stopped cancer. Even the New England Journal of Medicine published it. So the top medical journals are publishing the truth, and people don't want to hear it. But it's to be expected from the physiology. So when I look at things, I always go, if it was true, could it be true? If it was true, could it be true?
And you can't work out a mechanism to make it so.
It's called a metabolic pathway, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
What is the mechanism this works? And if somebody just goes, I don't know, it's magic, no, we're not living in the era of witchcraft in 1642 anymore. You better be able to tell how this stuff works. That has to be the standard. I didn't expect it to work, but it worked great. No, that doesn't happen.
Okay.
So very, very good.
All right, and then another thing that I know that people take fish oils for, and the cardiologists encourage them to do so, is for arrhythmias, heart arrhythmias. And when the study was done, and it's a recent study, 2010, you're identifying the research done by others, prestigious institutions, published in prestigious journals, is not a lick of good comes from fish oil when it comes to arrhythmia. Correct, Professor?
Absolutely. It fails there, too. And once again, how can it help? There's virtually no DHA EPA in the whole arterial system. It's exclusively used in the brain and nervous system. About 16% of the brain and nervous system, by the way, uses it. That's it. So it's not even a 50% component. It's 1/6 component, and the brain and nervous system is 3% of your body. So once again, you have to look at this and go, how? You're delusional. I understand that everybody wants a solution, but this is to the stage they're making everything up. And just something has to be done because people are spending their time, money, and effort in the wrong place, 100%.
All right.
Tragedy.
It is a tragedy, and that people are taking fish oil to get benefit in just about every category. In fact, every category I can imagine.
That's impossible to attain.
They will not be getting that benefit.
They can't.
Because they can't, because if it could be true or would be true. However, I like the way you...
It can't be true.
It can't be true.
It can't be true.
There is no metabolic pathway for that.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
All right, now we switch some gears because as much as that first show really locked in the concept that don't take the fish oil for a benefit, from that point on, we start to see where by taking fish oil, it's not what it can't do. Oh, it's what it can do, and what it can do turns out to be pretty injurious to the human body.
Yes.
That is the concept that I would like to, that I grabbed by listening to you and reading your stuff and listening to all your lectures, and I just can't wait, by the way, for that book to come out. I can't. But, and I know we're going to maybe talk about that for the time comes up.
Talking to my agent Monday, he's getting the book proposal, so that'll be...
All right, it's close. It is close. So by virtue of taking large quantities of EPA and DHA, super mammoth quantities of this...
Which are the normal amounts in fish oil. They're enormous overdoses for a human being, but they are the normal standard fish oil supplement amounts. I want to make that very, very clear.
That's right. The 1,000 milligrams seems to be the standard.
Yeah.
In a capsule, and that thing about the 17 pounds of fish that go into making one of those little
one
clear
capsule, correct.
And then you are so good as the electrical engineer that you are in doing math. I never thought about it. If there's 100 capsules, that's 1,500 pounds of it.
It's almost a ton. I mean, doesn't that bother you?
Oh.
It should really, really bother you going, what? am I doing here? 1,700 pounds of fish in this bottle, and I'm eating it.
Wow. All right. So, what is the harm that comes from these whopping doses of EPA and DHA? When this goes on, I came up with 6 points.
Yep.
I'm going to run them by you. The first one you've already alluded to. I think it's a big point. And that's the thing about the, fish oil out at room temperature. It smells in like 10 minutes.
Yes.
And then you go consume the thing, and 30 more degrees get stoked to this, okay? 98.6 being normal body temperature.
Yep.
The rancidity issue is unavoidable, instantaneous. You're saying it's happening in the colon itself, and when it gets there...
Happens in the liver, it happens in every organ it hits. It has to, because we're the same temperature everywhere in the body, close to 100 degrees. So it spontaneously spoils again.
It
this
does?
is taken from a fish living in freezing cold waters.
Well, here's the point that I bought into what you said, but what happens because of that is your body mechanisms are trying to protect you by using up your antioxidant system.
Absolutely.
Because that rancidity just means oxidation,
yep.
And you overcome the body's antioxidants. If you overtax it, it can't possibly do that job. You suck every bit of antioxidant out of your body to go to this one thing, which is to put out the flames from that 15 pounds of fish you took this morning in that one capsule. It's crazy. Anything on that subject?
You got it exactly. Your body has plenty of natural antioxidants. It has glutathione, it has SOD, superoxidase dismutase, which it makes. And it works fine, except when you try and circumvent Mother Nature with a supplement that you would never get naturally on its own, because you would never be eating 1,700 pounds of fish in a 30-day period. I mean, it's just crazy. Or anything like that. So when we try and fool Mother Nature, remember there was an old margarine commercial about margarine with that?
I love that.
You try and fool Mother Nature, you're in deep trouble. Deep trouble. So we are getting 20 to 500 times too much DHA and EPA than the body would ever make on its own. It's not due to slow conversions or impaired conversions. The body only wants a very, very limited amount of this stuff ever. And people made very bad mistakes overestimating how much. They all thought the parents, which is LA and ALA, are all turned into derivatives, and nothing could be further from the truth. So what we're doing today is the 21st century science doc is fixing the mistakes of the 20th. The whole medical profession, nutritional profession, are living in the 20th century, 100 years ago chunk of time. And the 21st century quantitative methods are so good that it reversed most of the wrong findings, because they're very, very better analytics now. And nobody's seen it. It's out there. It's in numerous times. Another one just came out in 2010, National Institute of Health, USDA, Department of Agriculture. They're the ones publishing how little of this junk you need. And I've not come across one physician, one person in the health industry that's seen any of this. It's
amazing.
A tragedy.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
All right. Let's move on, Professor. How am I doing so far, Professor?
Excellent. A+.
Okay. Thank you, Professor.
And I'm tough.
Okay.
I'm
and the
tough.
do harm component of taking EPA and DHA, this one here grabbed me, because this system, I think, ladies and gentlemen, you don't want to upset. And the eicosanoid / prostaglandin component of your body and your body's ability to respond is severely taxed when you take such high doses of EPA and DHA. You do flip-flops in the prostaglandin domain, I think, by virtue of the three eicosanoids, EPA, AA, which is arachidonic acid, and DGLA. But that arachidonic acid, 89% of all the eicosanoids come in that form of arachidonic acid, which is omega-6, not omega-3. And in so doing, you take in this high level of EPA, only existing in 0.5% normally, and you bump that thing up and you throw the whole thing into a tiz, and as a result of it, what do? Well, I think you said that the inflammatory, the PGE1, which is a arachidonic acid derivative in terms of metabolism, is your body's #1 anti-inflammatory. And you set this one on its heels. Talk to us about a bit about this PGE1, prostaglandin E1, and how disturbed it gets when taking fish oil.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. It's the PGI2 that's the arachidonic acid one, but they're both the omega-6 series, so you got the key part absolutely correct. PGE1 comes from GLA. So the series is LA, which is parent omega-6, goes to GLA, then it goes to DGLA, then it goes to PGE1. There's a whole series, but it's the omega-6 pathway, and you hit the key point. It is the body's most powerful anti-inflammatory there is. It completely dwarfs the omega-3 series. So there's two series, there's the 3 and the 6, and there will be counterbalancing. And people go, oh, you don't want any inflammation. You sure as the dickens want inflammation in certain places.
Yeah.
I cut my arm. I make a big slash with a knife on my arm. If that puppy doesn't get inflamed to the dickens, I bleed to death and there's no ceiling. If I had no inflammation, I'd have a blood pressure of 0. I would be a worm. So anybody telling you you don't want inflammation is crazy. They don't understand anything. The whole thing is a system. And that's what I specialize in, life systems engineering science. So there's inflammatories and anti-inflammatories. The problem today is, because of all the adulterated food processing and the trans fats, the interesterified fats, we are in a highly, highly inflamed diet. So if you don't have enough anti-inflammatory produced by your body, this is why everybody's running around with arthritic problems. 70% of women have headaches all the time. This is all inflammation. You put the parent omega-6 back in that works, the inflammation goes away. Fish oil can't do any of this. So PGE1 is major. And Weinberg, the big guy at MIT, all in the news, all in the medical journals, inflammation is at the heart of cancer. It's not genetic. That's been reversed. This is a whole 2 shows on its own. But the whole genetic thing is utter nonsense. There's not enough mutations in the base pairs to get cancer. There has to be greater than 5 or 6. There's never more than 2 or 3. So even the founder of the Aquagene, Weinberg, reversed it. No one's heard this. But in one of my books called The Hidden Story of Cancer, I have a whole chapter on it's not genetic from the world's best biologists. And it's not genetic at all. It's inflammation, and this was all Warburg. So fish oil, contrary to stopping inflammation, is a prime cause of inflammation. And here's how you can prove it again. Everybody's taking fish oil. Why in the dickens is skin cancer not way down? It's not. Because when you take this stuff, there's so much made, your body can't burn it all up. It shows it inappropriately into all the tissues. And your skin is one place. So when the skin has it, what happens? The sun hits it, heats it up. We have even more heat, more spontaneous problem. Big, big trouble. And I just pulled a phenomenally good study over in Norway. They gave people cod liver oil. There was 3 times more cancer in the cod liver group. This was published. Somebody sent it to me because I have a lot of supporters around the world now. And it was, Brian, you got to look at this. And the study was meticulous. So I'm in the process of writing that up. It will be in the book.
Right.
And here's the big one. Fermented cod liver oil is the answer. Yes, the answer to getting more cancer. Here's the proof. Because that's supposed to be the standard, cod liver oil.
All right, let's take this other prostaglandin issue, because I believe it's key. You mentioned it a couple times in passing, but I'd like to concentrate and let our listeners know when the prostaglandin system gets upset, prostacystolin gets disturbed. Why don't we want that to happen?
Prostacystolin is the body's natural blood thinner. Again, comes from arachidonic acid, which is the omega-6 side. It makes it where the platelets cannot stick together in the bloodstream and don't stick to an artery. When you take fish oil and you have heart disease, your body makes 42% less prostacystolin.
I never heard that number. Thank you.
This was in the New England Journal of Medicine, America's #1 medical journal in the late 80s. It's not even anything new. So fish oil completely short circuits by close to half your body's natural blood thinning ability, making it worse. This is as bad as it gets.
This certainly is
the poison.
To knock out the process, as much trouble as we have in the cardiovascular realm with inappropriate clotting, shedding clots, developing MI, strokes, and the like, the last thing you want to do is lose the prostacystolin component that actually prevents the formation of those clots. Very well said. I never heard the 42% before. Thank you very much. How am I doing, Professor?
Still A+.
All right. Next point. I believe this is so big. You make mention, but to me, it's the key because the membrane, everything happens at the membrane level, and what you were able to reveal to me is that the membrane, literally no matter where it is comprised almost totally of omega-6s, not omega-3s. That's not the role of the omega-3s. You tell me that the role of the omega-3s is in beta oxidation, not in membrane formation. But as you said a moment ago, if you don't provide the right kind of omega-6s in the form of these parent oils, and you take in huge amounts of the omega-3s in the form of EPA and DHA, here's your quote, shove these omega-3s into a place they are not supposed to be, which is the formation of the integrity of that membrane, which if you do that, the membrane and the passage of materials through it is going to be severely altered. I believe the word is transport. Talk to us about that. That is the key, because that involves now every zip code in the body, every organ, every tissue.
You got it.
This is no longer like a prostaglandin system.
Nope.
This is everywhere, and so literally it could mean that any dysfunction in any area of any part of the body may have as its prime initiating factor the fact that the materials can't get into a cell and the waste products can't get out of a cell because the cell can't transport. Go, take it away, Professor.
You've got it, Doc. Actually, the cell membrane, it's called a bilipid layer. There's a double layer of lipids, which is fat, in every cell membrane. 100 trillion. I want to make this unequivocally clear, crystal clear. There's virtually no DHA, EPA, which are the omega-3 series derivatives in cell membranes, outside of the brain and central nervous system. It's about 16%, just 1 part in 6. The majority of it is the parent omega-6 and parent omega-3. You do have the parents. Some parents come from flax oil in the omega-3 series, for example, and the omega-6, sunflower, safflower, different seeds, walnuts, pecans. That's why Seventh-day Advents are pretty healthy. But there's no derivatives. And the cell membrane is actually the brain of the cell. And you can prove it. Because if I get rid of the nucleus, the cell still lives. It could live for a month and a half. If I get rid of the cell membrane, it dies in a day.
Good point. Good point.
So the cell membrane is the brain. This has been reversed too. In medicine, things that are taken as standard for years and years are often reversed because people aren't thinking about them right, and they don't do the experiments. That's a very, very good experiment. Rip out the nucleus and see how long the cell lives. Rip out the cell membrane, see how long it lives. That's going to tell you what's important. But everything goes through that membrane, and this is called epigenetics, meaning the environment of the cell. And this is the entire key, just like you said. Everything in that cell either goes through that membrane or doesn't. One thing that happens is insulin. Mention insulin because everybody's diabetic today. It's the biggest epidemic in America and the world. Well, you take fish oil, we didn't even talk about this, it blunts the insulin response, and that means you need more and more insulin for the same amount, and everybody taking it, blood sugar rises. So you take fish oil, you are creating diabetics. How these people can say take fish oil to help diabetes because it lowers triglycerides is absolutely, utterly insane. It is raising blood sugar awfully, blunting the insulin response, which means your pancreas has to work more and more and more. So if you're a type 2, get a bullseye, get a picture of yourself, get a dartboard, and put your picture on the bullseye. You'll be type 1 shooting insulin if you continue to take this poison. Everywhere you look, Doc, it's failure, poison made you worse, and they're acting like this is the savior of medicine. It's beyond belief to me. I'm just speechless how the whole medical profession can be so stupid. There's nothing else for me to say.
Well,
that's not the definition of stupid. And it's been published. It's not like I'm making this up. I'm going to the world's best medical journals, except I'm a theoretical physiologist. I know where it has to go. I can explain why it fails. The other people can't. They just say it doesn't work. We don't know why. I can tell you precisely why, and I can tell you what works. But it's published that it fails, and if you want to look at failure and make excuses, something is really, really wrong here.
It is absolutely wrong. By the way, can you see the personality coming through, folks? Mr. Personality, you were such a hit at any doctor conference. I can't believe it. I can just see it right there. How they were scheming in Las Vegas in 2010 when you presented this stuff.
I have a chunk of them that wanted the truth. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
The best physicians like yourself around America and the world, I have a lot of big international following, want the truth. And it was thank you. I knew there was something wrong, but I had no idea of the metabolic pathway. And so it's not all physicians, but the vast majority honestly don't care, which to me is a tragedy. But they're so busy treating symptoms, they don't have time. So, I mean, I understand it, but ultimately, Doc, the patient is paying an enormous price.
Okay. Now, hey, one more thing on this transport issue, because you hadn't mentioned it. I caught it in your stuff, and I think it's a big point, because you've been around dancing around the cancer issue, but Otto Warburg is your hero. He is absolutely
standing on the shoulders of a giant.
Okay, that guy came up with the cause of cancer. It's never been disproven. Could you share that with us? And then this whole idea of oxygen transport plays into the Warburg synthesis.
Absolutely.
Take it away.
Otto Warburg was the greatest biochemist physiologist of the 20th century. MD, PhD, Nobel Prize winner in 1931. His life's goal was to eradicate cancer. Completely showed lack of oxygen to the cell, not to the bloodstream. Lack of cellular oxygen spontaneously induces cancer, and it takes a long time. It can be intermittent. It doesn't have to be continuous. This was proven in 1953 in America with scientists by starving heart tissue intermittently over about 2 years. Every time they deprived the oxygen for this period, cancer 100%. If you didn't deprive it of oxygen, they never got it. It was confirmed in a brilliant experiment in 1955 with more American scientists. When you decrease the oxygen level, cancer comes. So what I've been able to do is figure out what the heck is causing this decrease in cellular oxygen. Nothing to do with the bloodstream, because you can be an athlete to get full oxygenation in the blood. They get cancer all the time like everybody else. They're not immune whatsoever. So you had to be able to figure out, and it's in the cell membrane, because that's where all the oils are. And then what could be going on? Food processing. What happened? Because in 1900, 5% of the people, 3% of the people got cancer, and it was tracked. Remember, I live in Houston. Lancet, world's premier medical journal, published in the UK out of London. I went back and saw 1835, a copy of the Lancet. Cancer, as easy as the dickens to tell, it looks a complete mess. So they could track it. It was monitored. People didn't get it, pure and simple. So it had to be something in the food, because it hits all socioeconomic classes. And I guessed right. It was in the food processing, in the omega-6 oils, because that's what they use to fry, bake, and cook with. They don't use the omega-3 series like flax oil. And certainly no fish oil. Because it oxidizes at room temperature, you don't cook with this stuff. So I guessed properly. And then when more and more research was shown, the mitochondria are fully omega-6. There's virtually no omega-3 in there. It's called cardiolipin. It goes on, and then
Oh, we lost him. I think he hit a button. He doesn't know it. Let's do this. I'll get him back. Is he back? I'll get him back. Why don't we just take a short break? I'll go find the professor. He was making a point. I think he suddenly turned and twitched, and he hit a button. I'll be right back. I'll get him. Hang on.
Want to help your family eat healthier? Instead of learning to disguise tofu in wondrous ways, how about some real nutritional power? If your family has the typical American palate for fries, pizza, and burgers, giving your family the blessing of good nutrition is a struggle. Fruit of the Spirit is the answer for your family's nutritional needs. Fruit of the Spirit is an all-natural, whole fruit puree made from fresh fruits native to the Holy Land with alkalizing minerals. Fruit of the Spirit was 5 years in the formulation, the work of a team of top nutritional experts with independent science to confirm its antioxidant power. 1 ounce a day provides the equivalent of 5 servings of fruits and minerals. Fruit of the Spirit is convenient, affordable, and delicious. Even your picky family will sing the praises of Fruit of the Spirit. Give your loved ones the blessing of good nutrition. Call 1-800-442-3793 for a special promotional offer. Fruit of the Spirit, a blessing for your good health. That's 1-800-442-3793. Call them now, 1-800-442-3793.
This is Dennis J. Courtney, MD. Have you become confused about how best to manage your health? It's no wonder. It seems that every time you turn on the television or radio, another expert has yet another suggestion for you to follow that seems to be reasonable enough, but no matter how dutifully you follow the instruction, it just doesn't quite produce the results that you are looking for. If this confusion sounds familiar to you, give us a call at the Center for Complementary Health, where we'll make some sense of the confusion based on a blending of traditional and alternative medicines that we've been perfecting over the last 7 years. We offer metabolic nutrition testing, immune system repair, natural hormone replacement therapy, chelation therapy, cutting-edge allergy correction, and a host of other safe and effective alternative therapies.
Dennis J. Courtney, MD, is located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray. Phone 724-942-3002.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got him back. We found him. I told you, he got excited. He got excited, and he, hit a button, and then we lost him. We got him back, folks. Of course, I'm talking about Professor Brian Peskin. We're talking about the fish oil hoax. And, Professor, you there?
Yes.
You were just into the Warburg issue, And I believe the component I'd like you to end with is the 35% component. To me, that is the concept is one thing, but to be so finite is another.
It's absolutely finite. What Otto Warburg conclusively showed and was proven by other scientists in America, he was German, Nobel Prize winner, 35% cellular decrease, 35% is about a third, sustained, and it can take a decade. So you can have the decrease, go to normal. Have the decrease. It does not have to be decreased for 10 years straight, just intermittent, and only a few minutes a day will do that. So 1/3 decrease, I've been able to show you can have a 50% lack of transfer of oxygen in the cell membrane if you don't have fully functional parent omega-6. This was shown in 1976 by Dr. Campbell looking at cystic fibrosis patients. Conclusively showed you could have a 50% oxygen deficit. Remember, you need a third. So that would give it to you. Today, everybody's on the brink because of all the processed omega-6 oils. Even the finest restaurants are not using organic oils. So if you're on the threshold of a problem, just tip it a little bit, boom. This is why cancer is the #1 disease in the world. And when you add skin cancer to regular cancer, they put skin cancer separately because that's so huge in its own. It's about 1.5 million new cases a year in America. 1.5 million. And it has nothing to do with the sun, because when you look at southern climates, they don't get the skin cancer. It's all tied to food processing. Nobody tells you this. Oh, stay out of the sun. Everybody's staying out of the sun. It continues to rise. The dermatologists I speak with don't have a clue. It's genetic nonsense. Again, makes no sense whatsoever. You don't have a gene change in 100 years. And nothing's changed. So you put this back in. All I can tell you is people that follow my recommendations with a 1-to-1, 2.5-to-1 parent omega-6 free ratio, the skin can stay out in the sun. It gets a beautiful brown. You don't get the burning. You don't get the headaches like I used to get. That was the body saying, get out of the sun. You don't have the protection. It is unbelievable what happens. And for women, your skin is like butter. I'm 54. My skin beats most 20 years old in the softness level. Because I touch it right away, I said, but I've got a secret. I beat almost all of them, of course, until they start following my recommendations. So I can conclusively show everything I'm saying here is right. And, Doc, anybody not supplementing with the right blend of these oils is so missing the boat.
Well, let's jump there.
It's about $1 a day. That's it.
Let's jump there because it's another beautiful part of what you... So you told us how harmful it can be.
Yep.
And but you also told us how to unharm yourself, folks. You got to take what you call PEOs. Spend a moment, and the term PEOs and derivatives, I believe, is a beautiful work of language. Because I can see that. I can see that in my mind. So what are PEOs? What are derivatives? And how do you got to take this stuff? Because I believe you have shown the way toward health after you've shown the way toward disaster if we keep on going down the fish oil road.
Yeah, well, PEOs are parent essential oils because everybody is using so improperly the term EFA, stands for essential fatty acids, to include derivatives. I had to change the term and make up a new one. So parent essential oil are the only two oils your body can't make on its own. That is parent omega-6 and parent omega-3. You have to get them from food.
Plant source, not animal.
Yep. One cannot be converted to the other. Well, the animals naturally have some in it. So if I eat a steak, I'm getting some of this. The problem is with the grain feeding, they've altered the animal's ratio, so it's wrong. So it's nearly impossible, you're correct, to get the proper oil ratio from animal-based anymore. The fish itself will have the parents in it. That's why it's okay to eat fish. But the fish oil has none. So with the fish oil, you're getting 100% derivatives. But with plant-based oil, flaxseed, sunflower seeds, evening primrose, pumpkin, any of those, any of the nuts, you are getting the parents. So the big difference is plant-based parents let the body make derivatives as needed, as Mother Nature intended, and everything works perfectly. That's the key here.
It is so much the key, and I think that I'm going to get this question coming in a moment, but the last point here that I want to make is you can't, the premise for taking the fish oil 30 years ago was, hey, you poor Westerners with your Western diet and all those omega-6s and all that meat you eat, you need to balance this out with nice, healthy doses of omega-3s. You need these omega-3s. I say, through your help, of course, is that you can't make parents from the derivatives. An EPA...
Absolutely. You cannot go backwards. Very, very good point.
Very good point. You cannot go backwards. That's like showing up, I'm going to build a house, bring me the materials, I'm ready to build, and they're dumping off the shingles for the roof when you need block for the footers. How about that?
Absolutely correct. You can make the derivatives, but you can't go back and make the parents. So the key is put the parents in that are fully functional, and then you're all set. You can still eat some fast food junk. You can still do a lot of harmful things as long as you have a lot of good stuff. And we've been able to do something called DPA, digital plethysmography, which is seeing how the arterial flexibility is. And with people taking my recommendation for oils, your arterial flexibility is 11 years younger than if you took fish oil. This is proven. It was done statistically by a fellow that worked at the National Institutes of Health, PhD in statistics, Alexander Kiss, third party. Not open to discussion, a p-value of less than 1 in 1,000, which you can't beat. It's 50 times tighter than a regular study by the medical profession. And it is unequivocal. Virtually every single person taking fish oil was dreadful when it came to arterial flexibility. How a cardiologist can say to take this garbage, they're killing you.
Well, we have found out that all well-intended doctors who are now continue to prescribe this.
Yeah.
Well, they should be.
Hell is lined. The pathway to hell is lined with people with good intentions.
All right.
Remember?
Hey, we got people want to get at you with a little bit of time remaining. Do you mind?
Okay. Happy to.
Come on aboard. You're with a professor. Go right ahead. What's on your mind?
Hi, Professor. I read your book 2 years ago and was
Hidden Story of Cancer?
It took me a while to get through it, but my question today is if I do not eat like the average person, I eat no processed foods, I eat only grass-fed, pastured chickens, eggs, etc., would my ratio be different that I'd want to take, or would I go more towards the 1-to-1 ratio or more towards the 2.5-to-1 ratio?
Yeah, I like it towards the upper end, towards the 2-to-1, 2.5-to-1, but that is made as a supplement. No matter how good or bad you eat, that gives the body what it needs, because with that ratio, the body can dump what it doesn't want. There's no overdose. They're closer together. So it's not like 20 to 500 times too much. It's very, very close, and there's no chance of going overboard. So it's good for everybody.
I'll ask you, can I mix up my own oils?
Anybody can make their own oils. It's hard to get the high parent omega-6 oils because they're making everything today for frying. I also like a blend of 4 to 5 oils because some people have sensitivity to one particular oil. This gets rid of that, and I also highly recommend people getting some GLA from evening primrose oil. So it's not the easiest thing to make on your own. It's impossible to put it in a capsule on your own, and there's a couple companies that make it, but Dr. C could probably set you up with who
Okay. And
Who's a good source, so you don't have to call him later.
I know you talked about the digital flexibility of the arteries.
Yeah.
What do you think about the validity of blood testing to determine the level of essential fatty acids and not?
Yeah, it's worthless because, number one, they don't know what it should be because everybody's taking fish oil. It's going to skew the numbers all over the place. So you can measure what's in there. I would use it for if you start taking the right stuff, you're just going to see it change. But I've seen the blood tests. I've gotten them myself, and they don't know what it should be to begin with. So to me, it's an utter waste of time, and it's not going to give you your tissue structure. You have to do a biopsy. So I'm not big on them. If you're not taking my recommendations, I know you're in trouble. So I don't need to see an analysis. And if you are taking my recommendations, it fixes it. So I have no interest in seeing you waste the money. You can do it. There's a blood spot test. There's all kinds of these things. But don't go by what they tell you you're supposed to be. They don't have a clue where you're supposed to be.
Great questions, ma'am.
Yeah, very good.
And what about, did you recommend taking it in divided doses and with meals?
Because the oils are a food, I really am big on taking some in the evening because your body recuperates at night. So I work a lot. I will work very late writing and doing research. So I will take, a teaspoon of oil, which is, about 4 capsules worth, 3 grams worth, at midnight or something, get up at 4:30, boom. So I like split doses because these oils are a food. You don't have to, but it's better because it really is a food.
Great questions, ma'am. We're right at the bongo time. Thanks for calling. Well, she's a devotee of yours, Professor. You can tell that. Knows exactly all your stuff. We now have benefited from your stuff, Professor, all week. It's been just a rip for me, just so enjoyable. And we'll promise, you have to promise to come back, Professor.
Well, thank you. I will.
Especially to tell us about that book, which we didn't have a chance to get to, but you're meeting on Monday with your potential publisher, correct?
With my agent. I've got a top New York agent, and it's just as hard to get a top book agent as it is to get a publisher. So halfway there.
All right.
And the proposal is astronomical.
We'll get more on it. I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, I'll bring them back. Until then, this is Dr. Dennis Courtney with the Professor saying so long for.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Impact on Your Health is sponsored by Dennis J. Courtney, M.D., Director of the Courtney Medical Group, located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray, Pennsylvania. For more information or to make an appointment, call 724-942-3002. That's 724-942-3002.